Hello. Well, I hate to burst your bubble, but more people were here for Serena than for you guys. I have a feeling
the lights make it difficult to tell, so it looks full to me. It's all right.
Exactly. Well, Michael, at your age, it's hard anyway. But I think we have. Is Kevin? Well, I guess not.
I'm here.
Oh,
here.
We've got a mayor. We can't see him. There we go.
There we go.
Sitting
Nice
over my shoulder as you normally would be. Kevin's flight canceled because of the government shutdown, so he was nice enough to zoom in. We have the true goats of marketing today. We say goat squared. We should be saying goat cubed. Literally, some of the people who have built today's modern marketing architecture. Tim, I'm going to kick it off with you. We're going to start with the innovator's dilemma. As AI changes the consumer expectations and marketing funnels, how do you grow and change your marketing?
I think first of all, congratulations on Athena this morning.
Thank you.
Very exciting. I would say we're in a big opportunity time, but also there's a lot of issues right now. And I think the innovator's dilemma is you have consumers adopting AI really quickly, faster than they did the internet, and you have marketers adopting AI and really over the last 12 months without a ton of success unless they're using something super simplified like Athena. And I think the challenge right now is if you're a marketer, traffic is way down to your digital funnels because of AI. And I think the dilemma part is you basically need to decide that you're going to operate in the new reality of AI. And I think to do that successfully, there's a couple things that you really need to focus on. One is you got to have all your data in order. And I think if you don't focus on that. And the second one is non-obvious, which is I like to say it's changing B2C to C2B. You really have to have your touch points in order. And I think most companies...
Explain that, Tim. That's interesting.
Most corporations have 14 major touch points on average, which span from retail channels to sales forces to their websites. And typically only the digital channels are really covered with data. The other, probably 11 or 12 channels don't really have any interaction data on them unless it's payments. And so if you fast forward on AI for the next 3 to 5 years, you're going to need all those touch points to be collecting data and have the data from those touch points. And if you don't do it, the reverse side of it is the issues you see with the platform companies owning a lot of the customer front ends, it's going to be like that on steroids. So I think you really, as a business, have to get your data in order, and you have to move from B2C to C2B. And I would immediately go look at your touch points to find out what's uncovered.
Speaking of that, Michael, you've been around probably longer than almost anybody else in this room. When you look at marketing and how it's reset a few times.
I forgot the question.
Generational. Do you think AI's different in the way it's going to recalibrate marketing versus some other disruptions before?
I definitely do, David. And I looked at it very recently as I was making some decisions. I looked at it and I said, in my career, there's been some fundamental changes. The first one would be the introduction of mobile telephony. I think nobody would.
It wasn't the TV?
No, color TV, how's that?
Okay.
But certainly the introduction of mobile telephony changed our world, changed our lives, changed how we do business. I think the second leg of that three-legged stool that I'm about to articulate was the internet and the introduction of the internet. And the third would be AI. And I think the fundamental changes and the opportunities and the chaos that opportunity will create is unquestionable, and it's impacting everything. And as Tim's saying, and I think you're using it in the right way, obviously, B2C, but we've been thinking about this in the context of business to human.
Right.
And that's another fundamental shift, because I always marvel at the fact when people say, well, it's B2C or B2B. I think corporations may be inanimate objects, but somebody inside that corporation is making a decision.
Sure.
It's a person. It's not an inanimate object.
Today it is.
Yeah.
Might be an inanimate object shortly.
And the interesting thing in the shift there, just to say it, for so long we talked about the morphing of the chief marketing officer and the chief technology officer.
Yes.
Andrea Brimmer, the chief marketing officer at Ally Bank, did this a couple of years ago at a conference. She got up on the stage and she looked out and she brought a guest, and the guest was her CFO. And she looked at the market, the audience, and said, "You think you're pitching me? You're actually pitching us." And so the role of the CFO in marketing has taken on a bigger.
Well, it's interesting because we always say, often getting the yes from the enterprise is easier than the process of getting through procurement, finance, data security, and so on and so forth. Kevin, as we think about AI and we think about how it works in marketing, how do you preserve authenticity? How do you keep that human connection, which obviously, knowing you well, has been a mission-critical component of your
Wait,
success?
This is Kevin, or is this AI? I wasn't sure.
Well,
We don't know. We don't know, do we? So there's no way to tell. I'm a deep fake. Look, I have the experience a little, even though I was there very briefly, of being at a company whose whole basis of value provisioning was AI. Of course, I'm talking about TikTok. And the thing that is most interesting to me about TikTok is the reverse of causality in how consumers are presented with entertainment or information, whatever they're engaged in at the moment. You know, TikTok was a huge, vast array of video and information sitting there ready to find the right viewer versus the viewer trying to find information. That's a reverse of causality. Maybe it's maybe subtle, but it's really not that subtle. So I do think that with AI and with the associated machine learning, the ability to understand the affinities of an individual and to understand what they should be seeing or should be interacting with or engaging with at any given moment, that's the big paradigm shift. And if you look, therefore, at the ability to embed an advertising message in a stream of context, which is absolutely personalized to a degree that we couldn't really be done previously, that's the authentic delivery of a marketing message that AI can deliver, and does so now in short-form video apps. It's not just TikTok; it's Reels and it's of course YouTube Shorts. That reverse of causality, that information that is seeking the right audience versus the other way around, is extremely interesting, and I think it's also a very, very compelling context for which marketers can now reach their audiences in ways that were just impossible before, and with targeting and then therefore attribution that just wasn't feasible before. So I agree with Michael. It's a paradigm shift as large as the internet was and TV before it, or mobile telephony. This is a big paradigm shift, and this reversing causality, I think, can be taken advantage of by marketers in a very, very compelling way.
Kevin, you should see the look of joy on Michael's face that you actually agreed with him. I don't think I've ever seen that before.
Well, he actually taught me most of what I know, so that would be why.
So, Moran, you obviously one of the top professors in the world around AI, how it meets neurology and marketing. You've helped a lot of companies to inject artificial intelligence into their businesses. What are some lessons they've done well or they've done poorly?
Okay, so I'll say that
remember, speak slowly so people understand you.
I'm doing my best. You can, if you see it online, Kevin, it's just like there's a buffering issue on your side. I think that the mistakes are usually either going too big or too small. That is one, and now it sounds useless because how do you know you're in the middle? I'll say that there are a few classical ones that I see. So one is you kind of try to change something because of the response to a change, but it's not clear what, so you kind of do something. For example, I would argue if there's a move from a content-seeking person or person-seeking content, we're kind of in the same space. A future would be content doesn't exist and gets created as soon as the person looks for something. So you don't have a world where there's YouTube and someone just searches for the movie. There is no YouTube, and when something is being searched, the AI creates a YouTube video for you. And that, I think, is a future. And I think that as long as we're in the game of like, okay, we'll shift a little bit here and so on, it will be similar to what we have right now. I think what is similar to AI all the time, in my perspective, I see a lot of innovation from the AI companies. They come up with a new product. It is launched. For 2 weeks, everyone's excited and kind of wants to use it, and then they go back to chat.
Right.
And like this, the videos and all.
By the way, that's the same with a lot of tech. I mean, people get excited. It's the shiny new toy. They use it, and then
So I think that most companies basically get excited by those things, immediately launch the technology behind this thing, and forget to look at the fact that people mostly use chat right now, and if you want to do marketing well, you mostly want to do right now a simple chat answer, which is you search for your company, you put a question in a chatbot that you think your company should be the answer to, and if it's not, you start to tweak the blogs and the Reddits and the Wikipedias to get in the next certain LLM. That is a much more concrete project that is not too big, not too small, and will actually drive content to you.
I understood about half of that. Michael, were you gonna translate?
Exactly. No, I was going to say the speed of adoption, you mentioned it, or Kevin did, the speed of adoption. I do remember in the early days of mobile when we were thinking of penetration that was at 5%.
Right.
And I remember being in an audience not unlike this where somebody said, how many people have a cell phone? And it was like 10%. And then a few years later, it was 100%. And we watched it. This adoption is going to happen even faster because we're in an information moment where you can learn faster.
OpenAI announced this week 800 million users have used the platform. They were faster to 100 million than any technology ever and did it in under 2 weeks. This is like unbelievably fast.
Well, I'll say something to this. The biggest, I think, surprise to me was that sometimes you have one person with 2 phones. Like when you asked in the audience back then, there was 5%, and then you went to 100%. But
Michael has 3 phones.
Yeah.
Well, but it's funny you say
that
that
you know
because
about.
in that story that I just
That Ronnie
told,
knows about.
I did have 2 phones, and I said, wait, there's more than 100% in this room because I have 2.
Right.
So then, in that case, I think for the AI equivalence, I would say we're thinking right now, everyone's going to use AI, but really should have multiple AIs. People are going to use this.
But I did it for a
that.
different reason. David will appreciate this, so will Tim and Kevin. I did it because I had Verizon and AT&T as a client. I needed both phones. So
I did it originally because I loved the BlackBerry's keyboard, but I wanted the user interface of the iPhone. So I carried both for probably a year or 2. Tim, let's talk about what you guys are doing, right? Because to me, nobody out there today is doing a better job of blending the digital environment with the real world. Talk about how you're bringing real world experiences into digital.
Sure. So the premise for Flowcode, which is the company we started 5 years ago, was very simple. It was the fact that every consumer loves their phone, and that at the time, 82% of the commerce was offline, and today it's 81%. At the height of the pandemic, it got up to 20%. It's actually dropped back down. So when you think about the economy and your touch points, 81% of the economy in the United States, actually, commerce happens offline. And I've been in meetings with Fortune 500 CEOs where they've called and say, oh, well, I see your flow codes everywhere. What is it? And we sit down with them and we give them those stats. And I won't name them by name, but very, very significant sized companies. The CEOs in the meetings have been like, wait a minute, it's 81% is offline. That can't be true. And then they go look at their own traffic, and some of the name brand companies that you all know, they have more in-person physical visits than they do website visits every week. And I think that this is my point about the touch points is, if you think about AI to me is like saying diesel engine. The question is, what are you doing with the diesel engine and where are you putting it? And in our world at Flowcode, we do one very simple thing, is we only do one thing as a business, is we instantly connect fans to brands in the real world. And I think one of the things that we've seen is the volume of that is a lot bigger than people think it is. But it's not bigger for any other simple reason that when you go anywhere in the world and look at how commerce is getting done and where time and energy is getting done, at travel, concerts, you're having a big concert tonight, all the things that happen is consumers love being in the real world. And I think in our future vision, which is what we're doing with AI, is trying to bring micro AI experiences into the real world. So all of those touch points that are in the 81% of the economy that no one talks about anymore actually help those experiences get better. And the real point of this is, if you go to a touch point in the real world, if you go to the chain smokers tonight and the chain smokers have a flow cut up that allows you to interact with them and get their next album or buy merch or something like that, you can also personalize it. And the internet and AI is personalizing everything online. the real world needs to be personalized as well. And that's the other thing our product does, is we actually are able to connect instantaneous personal connections in the real world with the phone that people have in their hands that they love. And that's really our simple premise. And we're one of the only businesses in the world focused on that, and we're going to stay focused on it.
Well, you guys are killing it. It's really interesting. Kevin, when I think about how AI is changing, I love the look on your face when I'm about to ask you a question. It just amuses me to no level. Like you think I'm going to ask something.
I'm glad I amuse you.
Wildly inappropriate in the middle of my conference. But the truth of the matter, listen, you've helped to run Disney. You bought Marvel. You bought Lucas. You bought Hello Sunshine. Nobody understands content creation better than you. How is artificial intelligence going to play into the future of content creation from the way you see it?
Well, it's a multiple levels that is going to play in for sure. Like the easiest example would be that, more efficiency. If you're a writer sitting in a writer's room and you have a mental block, you just go on ChatGPT or Perplexity, you get some ideas, it sparks some imagination, you go from there. I do think that AI doesn't invent much. It's much more derivative. I think maybe that will change when we get to AGI at some point in the future, and I don't even know when that is, but it's probably not many years away. But for now, I think it's used for efficiency purposes. I do think, though, the more you see these video models take hold and the photorealism that you get, I think one of the panelists, I forget who, just said video, high quality photorealistic video can be made on the fly depending on what your interest is, and you can detect what you want to see, and boom, it's made for you right then and there. That's pretty damn interesting, actually. And I think that is something that's going to happen in the future. You're going to see full long form video being made with AI, with photorealism, with actors. Look, you could see like a Kevin Costner movie being made in the future. I don't know why I just chose him. Sorry, Kevin. But you could see him licensing his youthful appearance, and you could have a whole movie made around a youthful Kevin Costner playing a lead role with his full with his full approval and licensing, and him getting paid for it. You can see that happening for any number of actors, and you can have totally actors that have never existed but are a compilation of some of your favorite attributes from people in the past or in the present. So it's fairly comprehensive, actually. And ultimately, there's a lot of fear in Hollywood. You saw the last two, a couple years ago, we had an unusual event with 2 strikes happening simultaneously. That was mostly based on fear of AI, which I think is frankly pretty well founded, if you're going to ask me. And I do think that the future content creation will not only rely on writing and the easy kind of written words and scripts that can evolve. People can see that today. You can go ask ChatGPT to write a script about with certain prompts in it, and you get a pretty decently good story that comes out of it. You're going to layer on top of that audio, visual, and it's going to become soon indistinguishable from the real thing. So I think the future is going to be very difficult to predict. AI is going to play a big part of it. And I do think that there are legitimate concerns that are going to arise, both from the licensing of intellectual property that, from current actors and current IP holders into the future. It's going to look very chaotic in many ways. And it's going to be virtually impossible for anyone to tell whether this is the real me, as he said in the joke at the beginning of the session, versus someone who's impersonating me through AI. Virtually impossible to tell. So the future is going to be very interesting. The other thing that's going to happen is when AI becomes as pervasive as I'm describing, the barriers to entry to creating high quality video are going to collapse. That barrier is going to be gone. You can go right now on Instagram and TikTok, and there's a lot of AI-driven influencers already. Very, if you look carefully, you can still tell this is AI influencer, this is a real one. But in 6 months, I don't think you will be able to tell the difference. So the barriers to entry, which really has helped incumbents, big studios in the past, those are going to collapse. So then we're going to have to see what that looks like, what the business models that arise from that are, how are the current Hollywood studios going to erect barriers to entry that are more legalistic and more from a licensing perspective than they are from high quality video being created. It is going to be a lot of chaos.
Michael, did you want to add to that?
Yeah, you know, Kevin, you said that you used the Kevin Costner example, which was a good one, and you said one word in there with his consent. And
Yes.
obviously that's at the core. I just saw on a sadder note, Robin Williams, they just posted AI images of Robin Williams speaking. Obviously, you know it's not Robin Williams. And his daughter went online and in a pretty good tirade and said, this is not okay, because consent wasn't there. So that's a key element.
Well, I think Kevin's point is you've got some very famous actors today that will have to give consent. In 20 or 30 years, if there's no new actors coming up, there's going to be nobody to ask. It'll just be creating a compilation of actors.
And the other thing you said right at the end, Kevin, which I really underscore, in the early days of the internet, you know, in Hollywood, and certainly Kevin knows this better than I do, the proverbial green light was something that, you know, that person who had the green light. The idea of the internet was the democratization. You didn't need a green light. You could just go do it yourself. This is even another time when the green light is like a thing of the past that has no, those barriers to entry, it's not 3 network heads any longer that are telling you what you're going to get on. That changed, but it's changing again with speed.
I will tell you guys one thing. I was at a large media company this week with the CEO, and one of the things he said is, to Kevin's point, I think the Kevin Costner thing is what is primary consent, primary content that was getting pulled. And I know a lot of the tech companies are really trying to figure out how to get back to figure out what the primary content was, but I think that's going to be a really big issue, really a big opportunity also.
I agree.
Should I add to that?
I was going to ask you a different question. So let's get back to marketing for a second. I know that might be foreign to this group, but you obviously spend a lot of time on artificial intelligence. You teach multiple classes on it. You spend a lot of time working with businesses. Other than hiring Zeta Global, what would be a good tip for platform companies?
Did I hear Athena?
Is there another tip?
Did I hear Athena?
That is it.
That's it.
Yes, just like.
What would be good tips for how companies can implement AI into their marketing stack?
Okay, so first I say, again, you should search for something that your name should come up with, and if it's not, you start working for that. That's one. I think marketing teams should have now technology component. You can't have a person who studied marketing in a business school work in marketing. It has to be someone who studied computer science who works in marketing. That's a concrete one. I think you should start thinking about having 2 websites. One website for human, one for AI agents, and they look different. One of them is text-based, and it really speaks to the AI agents in their language, so it will be found first, and another one for humans, and maybe there's a kind of text file at the bottom that says go here or go here. It's a concrete kind of use case. It used to be saying that the best place to hide a body is the second page of Google search because no one goes there. But I think that the reality is that agents go there. So
That's
right
funny.
now, when you create...
Only an Israeli would say that. But keep going.
but
That was not meant as a...
I am Israeli, so like
He's Israeli.
but I think the point I'm trying to make is that it used to be important to be on the top 3 results, but now it doesn't. It's not that's important. It's being different than all the other results. You want to be the thing that the AI agents who summarizes all the results finds unique and puts in the summary.
Do you think we end up with AI agents talking to other agents? Because that's what I think.
And not only that, there's now, so I'm working closely with some of the AI companies, the big vendors.
Could you use another word than agents? I didn't have a good experience.
Right, exactly, yeah. No agents here.
Let's just call them spies, AI spies. But
Super agents.
I think that the thing is that from that perspective, they have an agent. Each think, I don't know, Anthropic and OpenAI, they have agent, and they spend a lot of time making those better, but they don't think about the fact that the agents from one company need to speak to another company. So in that sense, they're really, really good in speaking to other agents from the same company, and that I think is something that now we as kind of third party have to say, okay, I need to manage the conversation between Claude and ChatGPT because they won't. And in that sense, I think there's another layer of what we have to do to help the agents from those companies work well with us. I gave you 4 things.
Those are great tips. Michael, same question. What tips would you give to companies? Obviously, you spend a lot of time helping organizations to figure out how to better manage their marketing.
You know, it's interesting. So much of this seems like it's being driven by technological advance. And it is, obviously, but it's being driven, I'm going to go back to the CFO, it's being driven by efficiency. And there's not a CEO that I've spoken to lately that doesn't say, I know I can save 20%, whatever. And you know, the CMO story that I love is very large retailer CMO was telling me he did his plan to demonstrate, to show to his leadership on what the AI transformation that they're in right now will do in terms of bottom line savings. And he felt really good about a 20% number. And everybody in the room smiled and he got nods. And he said, I felt like I was in good shape. He said, and then when I got up to walk out, the president of the company said, by the way, I think it could be 30%. So,
and that's on a big number, right?
That's on a big, big, big number.
Yeah.
Largest company in the world.
Right. Okay.
Full stop.
And
Right.
David, one thing I think that is, directly to your point, and both your points, is, roughly half the traffic on the internet right now is agents. And I think people don't
Already.
and people don't know that. And I think people are building agents to book travel, to do other things. So today, when you walk out, your website might have half the traffic is actually agents that are being built to come in and use your website. So your point about having two websites is big. And the second one I'd just say on the talent side is, one of the things, at least I see, and I've seen this a lot, is I think that the talent needed to do this, one thing you have to be careful about is I think AI is bringing up the B talent and it's bringing down the A+ talent, where people who are probably
Leveling the playing field.
leveling the playing field. And one thing I've seen, and we focus in our work, is making sure that A+ people are still doing A+ things, and that the whole organization doesn't get commoditized down, because I think we're in the largest section of most distributed traffic and the smallest amount of big ideas right now.
In terms of the people, I had the good fortune of listening to Jensen Huang earlier this year, and he looked out at an audience of about this size and he said, you folks are all okay. Your jobs won't be replaced by AI, but they will be replaced by people who understand AI.
Right, yeah.
That person's job likely will be replaced by AI, but we're kicking the can. You've got time as long as you're educated, as long as you can play with a full deck.
Well, it looks like we are out of time. Thank you. Obviously, all of you are good friends and all of you are legends. So it's great to see you.